Thank you, Victor. Good morning, everyone. As you said, my name is Detective Constable Michele Bond. I work out of the Child Exploitation Unit, and today the Toronto Police Service is making sure that parents have access to important resources on Safer Internet Day. In response to emerging online risks and recent tragedies involving young people in Canada, it has become even more important to work together to reduce the incidence of adolescent sexual exploitation. Within the last year, the Toronto Police Service has become inundated with investigations dealing with youths not only taking explicit pictures of themselves, but also chatting with unknown individuals that they believe are as young as they are. This is why, on today's date, February the 11th, International Safer Internet Day, the Toronto Police Service are letting not only Torontonians know, but people of the GTA, Ontario, and all across Canada know about the comprehensive internet safety resources and tools that are available online through the Canadian Centre for Child Protection. These tools are available to assist parents make sense of how they can help their youngs understand online risks and protect them in an ever-changing technological world. The guide, How Can Parents Keep Teens Safe from Online Sexual Exploitation, is a new educational resource to help address growing concerns related to online sexual exploitations of teens. This guide will complement a new educational kit for teachers for grade 7s and grade 8s. There is also another guide called Parenting Tweens and Teens in the Digital World. It gives parents a good insight of what they need to know about self-peer exploitation, safety tips needed regarding their cell phones, online luring, the important discussions you need to have with your children about online contact with other people, and much, much more. We are pleading with parents to wake up and become more involved in their child's lives and to monitor not only what, yet who their children are talking to online. If you notice certain apps on your child's iPod or phone and you don't know what they are, sit down with your children and ask them. Learn more about it, because obviously your children know about it more than you do. Children must understand themselves that there is always someone who will listen to them as well as help them in their time of need. Whether it be the Toronto Police Service, the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, a parent, a teacher, or just somebody that they trust, there is always a solution, there's always help, and most of all, there's always hope. Are there any questions?
What are some of the tips that you have for parents in terms of being able to spot, I guess, some of the signs that their children are engaging in online activity that could be harmful?
Some of the very easy tips we can give parents, first of all, is to look at their iPods and their iPhones or on the computer when they're chatting. If the child does not want you to see what they're writing or who they're communicating it with, maybe it's time that you do take a step further and look into it. It's their responsibility as well. And sometimes it's not a time to be a friend, but it's time to be a parent.
Something interesting you mentioned, you talked about children thinking that or young people thinking that they're speaking with people who are their age, or people who are misrepresenting themselves. We had a case last week with Toronto Police arresting a repeat offender who not only pretended to be something he wasn't, but was able to extort a young girl after getting photos of her. How important is it that we hammer home to young people that you don't share anything about yourself online with people you don't know?
It's extremely important. For the past year, we've been sending this education out. We've been educating not only the Toronto District School Board, but the Catholic Board as well. They've done an incredible job on trying to educate the teachers and the students. But what we find nowadays is that it's the parents. It's the parents that need to know what to do. Sometimes we see it that, you know, your iPod or the electronic devices, they're wonderful to have, but they're not your babysitter. They're not your child's babysitter, and they're not their best friend. So in other words, they may think that their child is safe in the home, yet they're talking to the world, and they're talking to people that they just don't know who they're talking about. What happens with children is that they get themselves into a situation, and they think they can handle it. But then it happens that they realize they can't handle it anymore, and they're afraid that they're going to get into trouble or their electronics will be taken away. But it just ends up getting deeper and deeper in trouble, and they just feel like they can't get out of it. And that's why I say there's always a way. There's always somebody that they can talk to. Before it gets too far, talk to somebody about it.
You said within the past year you've been inundated with youth chatting with people they think are their age or taking pictures of themselves, posting that online. Have you seen an increase in the past year?
We've seen an increase over the past few years. Actually, this past year, there's been a bit of a decrease because of the education that's been going out to the schools and going out to public and whatnot, and to the children themselves. So they are starting to realize what's going on. But again, it's getting to the point now where the parents have to know.
Do all the schools carry this training?
There is training available for every school within Toronto. The school resource officers are trained in this field. And anytime a school is asked for education on this, we provide it to them.
Is it part of the curriculum though? Will all kids get this automatically?
I think you have to ask the school boards themselves, but they are working. Within the past year, they have been working to get it a part of the curriculum.
Officer, can I ask you to please hold up the booklet and talk a little bit about how it was produced?
This is a booklet that's made by the Canadian Centre for Child Protection. It is supported by the Toronto Police, and inside it is a guide, and it has 3 different sections. There's one section for the actual teachers to cope with the situation and different situations, whether it being severe, moderate, and there's a section for the parent themselves on how to deal with these situations, as well as there's a section for the actual child. So it covers for everyone, and it's a wealth of information. But if you go on cybertip.ca, you'll find further information relating. As I've said, there's material here dealing with tweens and teens and just knowing what they're doing out there online.
For some of the parents who may not be technically savvy, are there signs that they can pick up on of their children, like things like withdrawing from them, keeping quiet, that might indicate to them that they're already in a little bit of trouble online?
That's exactly it. When you notice your child, nobody knows your child better than yourself. And when you see them withdrawing from the family, when they lock themselves in their bedroom for hours on end, if they become very quiet, if they become preoccupied and their grades start to slip, it is an indication that something's wrong, and then you have to sit down with them. Ask them. It's very easy. Sit beside them on their computer and ask them yourselves. Sit down and see what's on the computer, who they're talking to, what they're talking about.
We've heard in the past some cases where children have posted pictures of themselves online and then been charged with things like distributing child pornography, and it is a crime to give out this kind of material. Do you think that message is getting out to the kids that are out there using the technology?
I hope so. It is a message that we're trying to get across to the youth themselves. Something very simple that they have to understand. When they receive, let's say, a picture from someone, an explicit picture, and they know the person is under 18, if they decide for a joke or for whatever the reason to send it to another friend, they don't realize this, but they're actually distributing child pornography. And it's as simple as that. And youth and adolescents, they just don't know that.
What kind of penalties are there for that?
There are minimal mandatory sentences, but they are dealing with adults. When it comes to young offenders, we leave that with the justice presiding. And we don't want, not every circumstance ends that way with jail or probation or even goes to court. It's more of an educational matter. And that's what we want to make sure is that it doesn't happen again, and it doesn't get distributed further into the internet. That's our main concern. Anything else? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, officer.